Certainly this time of year in July, we're here at Big Ten Media Day, and I mean, what is most exciting about this time of the year for you?
Just the prospect of a new team, a new journey. You'll find out about some of the new faces that you have coming in, and you never know how it's going to shake out. And both sides of the ball and special teams, you have an idea, but you don't really know. And so that's the art of coaching college football.
And certainly one of the big holes you're going to have to fill are the shoes of CJ Stroud, and an important player that is no longer with your program. So how have you moved forward, and how is that transition going for you guys?
Yeah, it's something we've had to do. Went from JT to Dwayne to Justin, and Justin to CJ, and it feels like just yesterday we were going to the Minnesota game on the road, and people were asking the same thing about CJ, and so we'll be in the same situation this year. The thing that's probably different this year is just, we have two guys that are competing for the job, and so you don't just step in and become a first rounder and become a Heisman Trophy finalist. This doesn't work that way. There's a lot of work that comes with it. I think the good thing for our quarterbacks is we have so much talent around them. Probably the most talent in the skill area that I've ever been around. So they only need to really make their routine plays routinely, play within themselves, take care of the football, be smart, and just win games. And then as they start to get games under their belt, they'll grow and they'll learn. But early on, make the routine plays routinely.
Yeah. And what specific traits do you look for in a quarterback?
Well, I think there has to be a competitiveness to solve problems, to move the team down the field, handle failure. You're just going to make a lot of mistakes at the quarterback position, but everybody's counting on you to run the offense, and so you have to make great decisions. You have to know when it's time to take chances, when it's not, when you need to fit into tight windows, but you have to be really competitive. Whether you're doing it with your feet, whether you're doing it with the throw, whether you're doing it by outworking somebody and watching extra film or putting extra work after practice, whatever those things are, I think the best one's just super competitive.
And when you see the development of a quarterback over the course of his 3-4 year career with you, what makes you most proud when you see a guy like CJ go on to top level and top draft pick, that kind of thing? What makes you most proud about having coached players like that, and not just the quarterback position?
Yeah, well, I'll start with Dwayne. We played Maryland late in the season, and I think he ran for 2 or 3 touchdowns in that game and really showed toughness. Like, he could throw it, but he showed toughness in that game, and he hadn't really done that before. And then he leaves after his third year, which, we finally got him to that point and he left. Justin, that Clemson game in the second year, he threw 6 touchdown passes, got knocked out of the game, but came back and played after taking just a ferocious hit, the toughness that he showed in that one. And then the way that CJ played in the Georgia game, he just played with an edge, with a fire, with a toughness. And I think when you think about all 3 of those guys, the sad thing is they all left after 3 years. But I think when you look at their development, it was just that competitive toughness that they got. Now I wish, we had another year with each of those guys, and it would have been a lot different, I guess. But that's part of the reason why you coach, is to give these guys opportunities. And all 3 have been first-round draft picks, and so as we look at this year, we're going to have to build that up. It isn't just going to happen right away, but I think we got some good candidates.
You talk about that grit, that competitiveness, that toughness. That's something you can't teach.
Right.
So how does that permeate to the rest of the team when you've got players like that within your program?
Yeah. I think that's really been our whole offseason, has been about competing. When you go to the end of the season and lose the games that we lost, and certainly the last one where it comes down to a play, all you can think about is, how do you get that one play? How do you get that 1 inch? In the rivalry game, how do we get to the point where, those explosive plays don't happen? Because, a good portion of the game we're playing at a high level, but, it takes a few plays and the whole game's ruined. So what we really focused on is competing. Everything we're doing, everything we've done in the offseason is about competing, you against me. And, if you and I are competing in something and you do 10, I got to do 11. And then you get another chance, you're probably going to go 12. Well, that's how you get that extra inch. And we think over time that's going to pay off.
Yeah. Speaking of paying off, there's so many great rivalries in this Big Ten conference, and in particular, Michigan, Ohio State. Everybody's got it circled on their calendar. What is that game like for you? And, the week leading up to it, the hype, the pressure?
Yeah, it's really everything. I said in my press conference when I got named the head coach that, the expectations at Ohio State is that you win the rivalry game and then you win every other game too, and that's part of it. And so it's something that we focus on every day. We compete every day. We have certain things that we do on a daily basis to win that game because we know how much that goes into it. And so that's why it hurts so much when you lose that game. It's devastating, and nobody wants to feel that.
How hard is it to get over those losses?
Oh, it takes a while. Yeah, it takes a while. We had that bowl game preparation that whole month to kind of work in, and we wanted to play different in that Georgia game. We did. When you put so much into it, sometimes you can put added pressure onto yourself. And the minute some of those big plays happened, I think we could have handled it better. We've talked about that, and we're trying to look forward to how we can do a better job next year. And this team that we have coming back has experience. And these guys have played in games before. They have a lot more snaps under their belt than maybe the last couple teams we played.
You talk about preparing so hard for an opponent that you do, but on the flip side, opponents prepare heavily against you guys as well. And I think maybe considered a compliment, but when a guy like Marcus Freeman comes out against you guys opening day last year and then says the next couple games he realized he put way too much emphasis on Ohio State and didn't put enough on the games in coming up after that. What does that tell you as far as where you guys are at in the grand scheme of college football, that you're causing headaches to your opposing coaches? Players are having a hard time playing against you guys. I mean, does that give you pride? Does that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be that way at Ohio State. I think when you look at the tradition and the teams that have come before and the success that's happened at Ohio State, that's the way it should be. But it doesn't just happen. A lot of hard work has to get done to do that, and we're looking to continue that this year.
Coach, you made a decision to promote Brian Hartline to the offensive coordinator and be the play caller and kind of take the responsibilities away from you in that regard. What's behind that philosophy? How has it helped you grow in that coaching role?
Yeah, I mean, we're still figuring out the whole play calling thing, but Brian played at Ohio State, went on and played wide receiver in the NFL, and then jumped right into coaching in 2018 and really took off and ran with it, and did a great job developing those guys and being able to not only have credibility as a young coach, but he really knows how to run routes. He knows how to be a receiver. So that room has just exploded. That combined with the quarterback play. So the next progression logically for him is a coordinator position, and so he's done nothing but succeed up to this point. So we're expecting him to do that this year.
So much of college football, and in particular the Big Ten, is coaches going back and coaching at their alma maters, or just even coaching for teams that they played against over the years. And I know you were a player yourself. What are some of your fondest memories dating back to your early days playing football? Some of your fond memories of the game.
Yeah, in college, I played for Chip Kelly, the head coach at UCLA. He recruited me, and so at the time, I just remember, in the fall, spending all of my time in the football office. That was kind of it's like almost being like an apprenticeship. Where do you learn to become a football coach? You learn from the coaches that are there. And then I would get my GP up in the spring, go back to spending more time in class. But we had some great games. We were down. The number one team in the country at the time was Delaware. And they were up on us, I think, 31-3 in the third quarter, and we came all the way back to beat them in double overtime, and we threw for like 450 yards or something. And that's probably my favorite memory in college, but probably more than anything, just the memories you have with your teammates and your roommates, and just bus rides home, and just after two-a-days at the time, we don't do two-a-days anymore, just long walks back in the locker room, and just the life lessons that you learn.
Did you always know you wanted to be a coach, dating back to those early days following Chip?
I think so. I laugh with Jim Knowles, who went to Cornell, because I was recruited by Cornell, and Brown and Dartmouth, and I was thinking about getting into hospitality management like my family had. They were in the hotel business. And then I was in the cafeteria one day, and the phone rang, and it was Chip, and he kind of knew me because we grew up in the same hometown, and he challenged me. He says, "You want to go to the Ivy League, or you want to go to a place that competes for a national championship?" So in my world, that was like a big deal, and I said, "No, I'm going." So I committed like in the lunchroom, and called my family. But great memories there, and I think as time went on, I knew I wanted to coach. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into business administration or not. That was my major at school, and then I went on to Boston College to be a GA and get my master's there. And then I just said, I think this is probably what I want to do, is just try to have an impact on young people.
Yeah, and that you certainly have. When you think about the mentors you've had over the course of your career, you mentioned Chip, but who else stands out to you as maybe someone you even continue to stay in touch with to look for advice?
Yeah, Sean McDonald was my head coach at the time, still to this day. I talk to him all the time. He came to the Notre Dame game last year, huge impact. A lot of youth coaches I had back home really helped me enjoy the game. So I thank them a lot, because that's a big part of when you're in your formidable years. You need to have great men and great coaches that are, helping you fall in love with the game. And there's other coaches on the other side that turn people off from the game. So I thank them. But in the coaching world, yeah, certainly Chip had a big impact. Tom O'Brien, who was at Boston College, and Dana Bible were tremendous. They're really great coaches. Steve Adazio I worked for, Urban Meyer and his staff. I worked with Al Golden for a year at Temple. So I was always around really good coaches and really good staffs, and then you just grow and learn from there.
What traditions have you started to create and have you created at Ohio State that you're most proud of?
Well, Ohio State has a tremendous amount of traditions. So many that go back so long. So you have to be careful, what you do there. But when college football allowed us to, give out number 0 as a jersey number, we thought about long and hard how we would do that, because it looks just like the block O. So the number 0, that's the block O. And in Ohio, you better be careful about how you hand that out. And so what we decided to do was make it the Bill Willis Award. Bill Willis was one of the first African Americans to play in the NFL, which is an unbelievable story about how Paul Brown, who was the head coach at Ohio State at the time, brought him onto the team, and it's just a tremendous story. And so he was from Columbus, Ohio, played defensive line. And so we name, and what we do is right before the season, we give somebody the Bill Willis Award, and they're able to wear the number 0 that year. It's an award. So it's a tradition we built. It's all in the locker room now. And but Ohio State has, just so many great traditions that we could talk about for hours.